It's 3 a.m. You're lying in bed. Your mind won't stop moving. You check your phone. You put it down. You check it again. This feels like a modern problem. It is not. For most of human history, people woke up in the middle of the night on purpose. Not because something was wrong, because that was simply how humans slept. What you're experiencing right now, that frustrating gap of wakefulness between two stretches of sleep, used to have a name. It was called first sleep and second sleep, and the space between them was not wasted time. It was some of the most important time of the day. Historian Roger E. Kirch spent over 16 years digging through old court records, diaries, and medical texts across Europe. He found thousands of references to this split sleep pattern. People would sleep for 3 or 4 hours after dusk. Then they'd wake. Not in a panic, not reaching for a screen, they'd simply be awake in the dark for an hour or two. Then they'd fall back into a second sleep until dawn. What did they do with that hour? They prayed. They talked quietly with a partner. They tended a low fire. Some had sex. Some just lay there thinking. Kirch found this pattern referenced so often in so many cultures that he concluded it wasn't an accident. It was the default biphasic sleep. 2 chunks with a window of calm wakefulness in between. Here's the strange part. This isn't just historical trivia. It might be biological. In 1990, psychiatrist Thomas Weir ran an experiment that still gets cited today. He took a group of people and put them in a room with no artificial light for 14 hours a night. No lamps, no screens, just darkness the way nights actually were before electricity existed. At first, the subjects slept long and hard, like they were catching up on years of exhaustion. But by the 4th week, something changed. Their sleep split. On its own, without anyone telling them to. They fell into 2 distinct sleep phases, with an hour or 2 of quiet wakefulness between them. The exact same pattern Kirch found buried in centuries of diaries. So, think about that for a second. Take away the artificial light, take away the schedule, take away the noise, and the human body drifts on its own, back into a rhythm it seems to remember. A rhythm it hasn't used in a couple hundred years. Why would your body do that? What could a period of nighttime wakefulness possibly be for? One theory points to something called sleep pressure, the buildup of a chemical called adenosine in your brain that makes you feel drowsy the longer you're awake. A full 8 hours in one block builds pressure and then releases it all at once, but split sleep releases some of that pressure early, then lets it rebuild again. Some researchers think this 2-stage release may be gentler on the brain, allowing for a distinct kind of mental state in that middle window. Slower brain waves, less anxiety, a kind of calm, floaty alertness that isn't quite awake and isn't quite dreaming either. That would explain something else in Kirch's research. People kept describing this middle-of-the-night window as an unusually good time to think. Diaries from the 1500s and 1600s describe it as a time for reflection, for working through a problem, for remembering a forgotten dream and turning it over in the mind. Some described visions. Some described simple peace. It wasn't insomnia to them. It didn't need fixing. It was just Tuesday night. Compare that to now. If you wake at 3 a.m. today, what happens? Your heart rate picks up a little. Not from any threat in the room, but from the thought itself. You think something is wrong with me. You reach for your phone, blue light hits your eyes and tells your brain it's daytime. You start scrolling, which activates the exact reward circuitry that's supposed to be quiet at this hour. Now you're not gently awake in the dark. You're wired, overstimulated, and anxious about being wired and overstimulated. The very same biological window that used to be for prayer and quiet conversation has become, for a lot of people, the worst hour of their day. Sleep researcher Matthew Walker has pointed out that industrialization didn't just change when we work. It changed when we're allowed to be conscious. Gaslighting arrived in the 1800s. Electric lighting followed shortly after. For the first time in human history, night stopped being dark. And once night stopped being dark, the biphasic pattern started disappearing from historical records almost entirely. By the early 1900s, references to first sleep and second sleep had basically vanished from English literature. Not because people stopped waking at night, because the culture around waking at night changed. It stopped being something you did. It became something wrong with you. That reframe matters more than it sounds like it should. If you believe waking at 3 a.m. means something is broken, your brain treats the moment like a threat. Cortisol rises, you tense, you check the clock, calculate how many hours of sleep you have left, and panic a little more with each calculation. But if that window is actually an old familiar shape your body remembers from before electric light existed, then the wrongness isn't in the waking. It's in the fur of the waking. There's a quieter question underneath all this. What if some of what we call insomnia today is not a malfunction, but a memory? A body reverting, however briefly, to the rhythm it used for tens of thousands of years in a world that no longer has any patience for it? You don't have candlelight anymore. You have a phone charging 6 inches from your head. You don't have an open window with real darkness pouring through it. You have a street lamp glowing through the blinds and a smoke detector blinking red in the corner. Every part of your modern environment is quietly telling your nervous system that the version of night your ancestors knew doesn't exist anymore. And so when your body tries to do what it's always done, drop into that soft middle window of wakefulness, there's nothing there to meet it. No fire to tend, no one to talk to in low voices. Just a bright rectangle in your hand, and a sense that you're doing something wrong simply by existing awake in the dark. Maybe the fix isn't a new sleep app or a stronger blackout curtain. Although those help, maybe part of it is smaller than that. The next time you wake in the middle of the night and your mind starts spinning with worry about the waking itself, you could try something different. Not scrolling, not calculating hours lost, just lying there in the dark. The way people did for most of the time humans have existed, and letting your mind drift wherever it wants to go. It's 3 a.m., you're lying in bed, your mind won't stop moving. And for the first time, you understand that this isn't a modern problem at all. It's a very old room in your body that the world simply forgot to leave the door open for.